began to teach beside the lake. Such a very large crowd gathered around him that he got into a boat on the lake and sat there, while the whole crowd was beside the lake on the land. He began to teach them many things in parables, and in his teaching he also said, "The kingdom of God is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He does not know how. The earth produces of itself, first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his sickle, because the harvest has come." The Gospel of the Lord. Tomorrow is the feast of St. Gerard, and we bless pious objects at all sessions. St. Joseph's has a new website, and it is redemptoristdundalk.ie. So redemptoristdundalk.ie. And the Redemptorist communications are outside, and they're with us throughout the day, have been, and they're promoting two things. One is early Christmas promotion of Christmas cards, so that they're there, and I think they're going to, and this isn't false advertising, but they told me they're probably going to run out before tonight, so that's that. But then there's the 2016 calendar, and it's particularly special this year. It's marking the 150th year since the Redemptorists were given the icon of the Mother Perpetual Help, and so captured inside for the different months are different shrines of Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Ireland, in our houses in Ireland, and some abroad as well. And of course a special feature of it is February. Michael Cusack is on February. He said he's a February boy on February, for February, but it's a long distance shot of him, so it's okay. So, in the pyramids of Egypt, they found jars of seed, and these seeds were about 3,000 years old. And they wondered, is it possible that these old seeds could still produce life? And they decided to experiment, and they took some of the seeds and they planted them, and then they waited and waited. And they wondered, was life potential still there after thousands of years? And those ancient seeds interacted with the nourishing soil and came to life. Our life force is amazing. Even when something or someone seems so lifeless or hopeless. A foreign missioner spent his whole life on the missions working for the people. And it wasn't a Christian country, and he had very few conversions to Christianity during his lifetime. And so he died with a real sense of failure. Yes, he knew he'd helped the people, and he had no doubt that he loved his people. But he thought that he'd failed really to introduce them to Jesus. He tried, but failed. And he died. And his replacement came, another missionary. And the next missioner was a bit surprised because so many came forward saying they wanted to convert to Christianity. And the missioner asked, "Why now? Why do you want to convert?" And the people said, the typical answer he got was that they had so many good memories of the old missionary, his faithfulness to them, his humility, his simplicity of life, his dedication and love for them, right up to his death. And they said those memories had awakened a longing in them to know the source of his meaning, of his energy, of his hope, of his love. The seed had indeed died, but the soil of the old missioner's life was producing new life. I was based in Clonard Monastery, 1999 to 2002, and one day I was out in the church, and a woman from Belfast approached me about halfway down the church in Clonard. She'd bleached short hair. She had a few tattoos, and her, as I remember it now, her ear and her nose and her tongue, she had piercings on all those. And my guess was that she was about 45. And she said, fairly abruptly, but she said to me, Father, she said, I haven't been to church since I was 12. And then she pointed, and she said, you see that pillar over there? And you see the seat by that pillar? And I said, yes. And she said, my mummy used to sit there every week when she came here to Mass and to the Novena. My mummy died last year. And then she said, from now on, and excuse me, I get emotional about this for some reason, but anyway, she said, from now on, I'm going to fill that seat. I'm going to be here every week. Her mother planted the seed and never knew the growth. She never realized how important her silent example was. She probably thought that she failed to pass on the faith. And yet her life was rich, nourishing soil. Harvest time had come. Often we have no idea how something we do or don't do, say or don't say, can take deep root in a person and transform their lives, or remain with them and sustain them for the rest of their years. And as we come towards the end of our novena and reflecting on today's parable, it might be a good day to recall and give thanks for those in our lives who have provided us with rich, nourishing soil, which has helped us to grow and cope with life's pain. And you notice in the parable, in that short parable, there's silence and there's waiting and hoping that the seed will produce. And I think many of us in our lives meet with and struggle with silence and even God's silence. Jesus felt abandoned on the cross, God's silence. I'm sure Mary experienced deep devastation at the cruel death of her innocent son. God's silence, where was God? And St. Gerard, falsely accused and then severely punished, suffered in silence. And I'd say he must have come to know the painful silence of God at that time. Many of us have known or may come to experience God's silence in our lives. Many of us may be worried about God's apparent absence from our world. And our parable confirms our experience of God's silence. But our parable tells us that we can misinterpret this silence as due to inactivity on God's part. And the parable tells us that silent God may be, but absent God is not. Mahatma Gandhi said, when I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been murderers and tyrants, and for a time they seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Think of it. Always. So our parable challenges us to trust in the life of Jesus, Mary, St. Gerard, Gandhi, and so many others, all challenging us to believe that lies and corruption and evil and pain and heartbreak and suffering and even death in the end will not have the last word. We're asked, as it were, to roll the dice of our lives on trust in Jesus and in his word. Jesus and Mary and St. Gerard trusted beyond God's silence and now are in the heart of God. I read some of the petitions and thanksgivings. St. Gerard, please